The image they project is one of strength,
unity,
a garden world reborn.
Official United Nations broadcasts show gleaming towers piercing clean skies, lush green parks, and a populace united in common purpose. They speak of a global government born from wisdom, when the nations of old finally set aside their differences to combat a looming ecological catastrophe. This is the story they tell the Belt. It's the story they tell Mars. More importantly, it's the story they tell themselves. And it is a lie. The reality, which my agents have documented, from the polluted alleyways of the Baltimore sprawl to the ration queues in the Eurasian bloc, is one of decay. The ecological collapse they claim to have averted simply ran its course. The polar ice caps are gone. The great coastal cities of the 21st century are now protected by massive, crumbling seawalls, holding back an ocean that wants to reclaim them. New York, London, Tokyo, all living on borrowed time. What they call wilderness is a joke. Curated museums of nature like the Congaree or Richmond Parks, tiny, manicured patches of green in a world of grey, more monument than ecosystem. The air in most urban centres is a toxic soup, the sky a permanent hazy shroud, and the population 30 billion souls, a number so vast it has become meaningless. Earth isn't a garden, it's a pressure cooker. This contradiction between the idyllic fantasy and the grim reality is the key to understanding the modern UN government. Their entire foreign policy is a psychological projection of this internal failure. A government presiding over a dying world cannot afford to appear weak. It must project absolute strength, absolute vitality to compensate for the rot within. Every threat to Mars, every brutal crackdown in the Belt, is not an act of confident power. It is the desperate lashing out of an entity terrified of its own reflection. They find external enemies to blame for their internal problems, because the alternative is to admit that they have failed. That Earth, the cradle of humanity, is now its gilded cage. How do you control a population of over 30 billion on a planet with dwindling resources and no real future? You don't govern them, you warehouse them. Welcome to Basic Assistance. The UN will tell you it's the most extensive social welfare program in human history. It is not. It is the most sophisticated system of mass social control ever devised. Over half of Earth's population, more than 15 billion people, are on basic. Let me be clear about what that means. It is not a universal basic income. There is no money. There is no freedom. Those on basic receive shared accommodations in sterile, monolithic government housing complexes. They eat bland, grey-tasting textured protein paste and enriched rice dispensed from automated kiosks. They wear recycled, paper clothing. They receive minimal medical care in overcrowded government clinics. It is a life sentence of mediocrity, the bare minimum required to prevent mass starvation and riots. And what do they give up in return? Everything. A person on basic is legally forbidden from seeking employment. They are forbidden from pursuing education. They are not even allowed to have children unless they win a procreation lottery, a cruel, bureaucratic mechanism to cull the herd of the unproductive class. They are ghosts in their own society, with no economic footprint, no official purpose. They are a population with no stake in the system and nothing to lose. The official justification is the lump labor fallacy on a planetary scale, that automation and overpopulation have made mass employment obsolete. Another convenient lie. The belt is screaming for laborers. Even on Earth, the automated systems require human oversight. The truth is far simpler and far more cynical. It is cheaper to keep these billions pacified and unproductive than it is to educate and empower them. It is a political choice, not an economic one. And this is Earth's greatest vulnerability. This is the secret that underpins everything that is about to happen to you. The United Nations, in its quest for total control, has created a new, invisible resource, a population of billions who are officially non-persons. If someone on basic disappears, who would know? They have no job to miss their shift, no bank account to go dormant. They are a rounding error in a planetary census. They are the perfect raw material for anyone needing a supply of anonymous, disposable, untraceable human bodies. A corporation, for instance, looking to conduct horrific experiments far from prying eyes. Remember that. The UN didn't just build a cage for its people, it built a hunting ground for monsters. Every fragile system needs an enforcer. For the United Nations, that enforcer is the UNN, the United Nations Navy. On paper, it is the most powerful military force in the solar system. It fields the largest fleet, outnumbering its primary rival, the Martian Congressional Republic Navy, by a staggering margin. At times, as high as 5-1. Its fleets are built around massive dreadnoughts like the Truman class, bristling with torpedo tubes and point defense cannons. The UNN's doctrine is a direct reflection of Earth's societal philosophy. Quantity has a quality all its own. Their strategy in any major conflict is to overwhelm the enemy with sheer numbers, launching massive, saturating waves of torpedoes designed to brute force their way through sophisticated defenses. But this focus on size masks a critical weakness: technological stagnation. While Earth was building more ships, Mars was building better ones. The MCRN fields vessels that are faster, more advanced, and equipped with superior technology, including the game-changing stealth composites that rendered the UNN fleet deaf and blind in the opening salvos of the coming war. A significant portion of the UNN fleet is aging, obsolete, a relic of a past era of dominance. This fleet is not a symbol of Earth's strength. It is a monument to its fear. The immense cost of maintaining this naval behemoth is a constant drain on a failing global economy. Every ton of steel used to build a new battleship is a ton not used for environmental reclamation. Every credit spent training a Marine is a credit not spent educating a child on basic. The UNN's primary function is not just to project power outward, but to contain the explosive pressures building within Earth's own society. It exists to intimidate the Belt, to cow Mars, and to remind the billions in the golden cage who holds the keys. Their actions are born from this place of fear. Consider the assault on the Martian moon Deimos. To the MCRN, Deimos wasn't just a rock in orbit, it was their Gibraltar, their Pearl Harbor. A hollowed-out moon converted into the primary naval base, shipyard, and command and control center for their entire fleet. It was the heart of Martian military power, and a symbol of their technological pride. The UN, in a single horrific act, orchestrated by men like Sadavir Errinwright, didn't engage it in battle. They didn't lay siege. They used their planetary railgun network to fire a colossal stealth-coated asteroid across millions of kilometers of space and simply erased it. Thousands of Martian personnel, military and civilian, were annihilated in an instant without a declaration of war. It wasn't a strategic military strike. It was a panicked, disproportionate lashing out against a Martian scientific outpost. It was the act of a power terrified of losing its technological supremacy, willing to commit an atrocity to maintain the status quo. The UNN is a blunt instrument. It is large, intimidating, and capable of inflicting immense damage. But it is also slow, predictable, and intellectually stagnant. It is the military arm of a society that has forgotten how to innovate, a culture that prefers to crush problems under its immense weight, rather than solve them with ingenuity. To understand the actions of the UN, you must understand the minds of its leaders. They are products of a dying world, and their decisions are shaped by a singular, all-consuming ideology. Earth must come first, at any cost. Consider Chrisjen Avasarala, Assistant Undersecretary, later Undersecretary, of Executive Administration. A career politician from a powerful dynasty, a grandmother who dresses in fine silks and curses like a docker. She is brilliant, pragmatic, and utterly ruthless. My files are filled with her actions, sanctioning the gravity torture of a suspected OPA operative, authorizing Black Ops assassinations, all while publicly decrying the violence of the Belt. She is the living embodiment of UN hypocrisy. But she is not simple. Her ruthlessness is driven by a genuine, passionate, and terrified love for Earth. She sees the abyss on whose edge her world teeters, and she will do anything to keep it from falling. She is also capable of learning, of adapting. When faced with the consequences of total war, she is one of the few with the wisdom to argue for restraint. Then there is Sadavir Errinwright, Avasarala's superior. He is the dark reflection of her patriotism. Where Avasarala is pragmatic, Errinwright is paranoid. Where she is strategic, he is rash. He too believes in Earth first, but his belief is brittle, poisoned by a profound sense of insecurity and a burning resentment of Martian superiority. He sees Avasarala's attempts at diplomacy as weakness, her caution as cowardice. He reveres the history of Earth, clinging to symbols of its past glory like his antique fountain pen, but this reverence has curdled into a dangerous nationalism. In his mind, any action, no matter how monstrous, is justified if it secures Earth's dominance. This paranoia led him down a path from which there was no return. Terrified of the MCRN's technological edge and desperate for a weapon that would guarantee Earth's supremacy forever, Errinwright forged a secret treasonous alliance. He reached out to the amoral corporate plutocrat Jules Pierre Mao, owner of Mao Kwiatkowski Mercantile and its shadowy subsidiary, Protogen. Errinwright provided the top-level political cover. Mao and Protogen provided the science. Together, they would take the mysterious alien agent discovered on Phoebe, the Protomolecule, and turn it into a weapon. Errinwright was not an aberration. He was the inevitable product of the UN system. In a government defined by fear and decay, a man willing to burn the entire system down to save it is not a bug. He is a feature. He is the dark, logical conclusion of the Earth-first mentality, stripped of all restraint. He is the system's immune system turning on itself. And now, we come to you. A Pinkwater security contractor. According to your file, your story begins on Eros. What was supposed to be simple shore leave is about to be interrupted. Violently. You are about to be caught in the opening moments of a system-wide war you didn't even know was being fought. My network has intercepted fragments of what's to come for you. Flashes of a mission. A frantic rescue operation aboard a frigate, the Gemini. A desperate search for a retired MCRN officer named Eugene Sannon. That mission, that man, they are the flashpoint. The moment your life as a simple mercenary ends and something far more dangerous begins. It is the event that will drag you into the heart of this conspiracy. You may find him, but not in the way you expect. The game you are about to play, Osiris Reborn, places you at the epicenter of this plot. The lockdown on Eros, the chaos, the violence you will witness. It is not a random industrial accident. It is not an OPA terrorist attack. It is a field test. Protogen, with Errinwright's covert blessing, chose Eros as its laboratory. And the station's 100,000 inhabitants, a mix of marginalized belters and earthers who had fled the golden cage, became its lab rats. They were the perfect subjects, far from Earth, officially disenfranchised, a population whose screams would be lost in the static of the belt. The Protogen soldiers you will fight in those corridors are not simply corporate thugs. They are the frontline troops of a shadow war born in the highest offices of the United Nations. The infected you will encounter, the so-called vomit zombies, are the direct result of a government policy that rendered billions of its own citizens subhuman and disposable. And the advanced protomolecule hybrids, the Caliban project that Protogen developed. They are the end game of Errinwright's paranoia. Your origin, Earther, Martian, or Belter, will color your journey, granting you unique skills and perspectives. But the truth remains the same for all. The horror on Eros is not an alien invasion. It is a human-made atrocity, incubated in the poverty and decay of Earth and unleashed by the fear and ambition of its leaders. So when you lock and load, when you give orders to your crew, when you come face to face with the blue crystalline nightmare that Protogen has unleashed, remember this briefing. You are not just fighting to survive. You are fighting the physical manifestation of a political ideology. Every enemy you put down was made, not born. And the factory was Earth. The file is now closed. The information is yours. What you do with it is up to you.
My network will be watching.
The game is afoot, and the board is larger than you can possibly imagine. Try to stay alive. You might prove useful.
End transmission.